Hello and welcome to your weekly wisdom. I am Tammy Jaffe, your host, helping you go from employee to entrepreneur without all the headaches. I am here with a very special guest today, Marsha Glight, and we are going to talk about why today is your someday and why you need to stop putting things off, why this is the time to take action, do the things you want to do. And Marsha is a speaker, entrepreneur, and a master at creating effective leaders. After 30 years of working in the C-suite position, she found her passion for helping others grow in their personal and professional lives. Marsha couples her business prowess with her leadership development training skills while creating a humorous and fun environment for clients to develop, grow, and prosper. I am so excited you're here with us, Marsha, today. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into this.
So I probably have a lot of the same background as you, right? Good old corporate America, right? We were taught that get a job and your career will take you where it needs to take you. And that's what I did. So I started out in accounting and got into finance. And 30 years later, I'm like, woohoo, I hate what I'm doing. And I started feeling like that caged animal, right? And then the ringleader in the circus. So managing up, managing down, managing my people. And because I didn't really like what I was doing, I felt that I believe my people didn't like what they were doing either. So it was a very interesting position to be in because my people really did like what they were doing. I just didn't like what I was doing. So I decided that it was time to find my passion, find my voice, find what I wanted to do. And what I learned is I really liked leadership and leading people and managing people and making the environment fun so that everybody could, do the hard things, work through their issues and get the job done. And when my team was effective, then I was effective. And so that's what I teach my clients, how to do that.
Awesome. Yes. I mean, it's so true that when you're effective, your team is effective because you're effectively giving them the right communication and the right things to do, and you're all on the same page. So I love that. But I know it wasn't easy kind of making that shift from being in the corporate environment for, so many years and being a prosperous leader there. And, what were some of the challenges that you faced from switching from the 9 to 5 and starting your business?
Well, first, you go from 9 to whatever, because you can't necessarily say it's 5. And actually, it was 7:30 to whatever. We started really early. And the first thing that happened was the stress was off. I was so relieved that I wasn't waking up in the middle of the night worrying about how I was going to make somebody else's payroll. And that really was such a relief. But then what I learned is that I had one of the most amazing assistants, and I didn't realize how much she did of the things that I didn't like to do. And that was the biggest challenge is doing everything in the 24 hours, a day. And I thought, okay, I can make my own hours. Well, my own hours became 24 hours, 7 days a week, because that's what you work when you're an entrepreneur. But I loved every minute of it because I was doing what I wanted to do. I was helping the people I wanted to help. And I was just meeting so many new people. And that's what I just love to do. But here was the little bit of a growth. I didn't realize why I was so unhappy at work. And I thought that I was unhappy at work because I didn't like the work. What I found was I wasn't happy with the person that was going to work. And that was me.
Yeah.
And it took me a year to figure that out.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, a lot of times, there's many reasons why people want to leave their job. They got a bad boss, they're stressed out. And sometimes that is that the crutch underneath us is our own self and the things that we're not happy with in ourselves and not making the right decisions, not putting up the right boundaries. So what was it that you discovered and how did you go through that process?
I discovered it the hard way. So we were up in San Francisco at a wedding, and I had a blister on my toe. And I'm like, it's a blister on your toe. No big deal, right? We all get blisters. And this one got infected. And I couldn't put my shoes on. And all of a sudden, we were at this wedding. And I said to my husband, I go, we got to leave. I go, I have a raging headache. And I could just tell I had a high fever. Turned out that there was an infection in the bone in my toe. And that infection got into my bloodstream. And I found myself in the hospital having a toe amputated. And I'm like, okay, what happened? And they're like, oh, you need to eat healthy and lose some weight. I'm like, okay, cool, I could do that. Well, 3 months later, it happened again. And I ended up, this time it wasn't a blister. This time, after walking around New York City for a couple hours, I broke a toe that, it's really gross. The bone went through my skin, and here we go again. Well, what happened was we're not sure that they got the whole infection when the first time, had 2.5 more toes amputated. And I'm sitting in the hospital in New Jersey, 3,000 miles away, right, from my home. And all I had was my phone. And I'm type A personality. So what did I do? I started Googling, like, what the hell is wrong with me? Yeah. And am I happy? What is happiness? And I'm like doing this philosophical whatever Google search, right?
Yes.
And I ran into self-care. And what I found was that there was more to being healthy than what you eat. And that's when my journey went on to really look at, if I was taking care of me and putting me first, then, and taking responsibility for going to work and sitting in that chair all day long, and the feelings that I was having, and not practicing gratitude and all the other things, right, that go along with self-care, maybe my job really wasn't so bad. Maybe I really wasn't so miserable. And then I went back and I looked at all the other jobs that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a light bulb aha moment and a deer in the headlights at the same time. And that's when I finally came to the realization that I could help other people in that same position. You don't have to be 50 years old figuring out what career you're going to do next. And because you were totally disconnected from you, right? And as a mom and as a working mom, right? And we have small children and we're raising our children, we're like a rubber band. We're being pulled between our boss and our employees. Then we're being pulled between our children, our husband, and our home responsibilities. And you can't, how do you move your body? It's almost like Gumby, right? Remember the Gumbies, like you'd pull the arms and the legs and see how you can contort him, but we can't contort. And that's why people get to that point, right? And that's the work you do, right? You're in this place. What's the next move? Do you start your own business?
Right. Yeah, there's all the questions that are going through your head when you're in that moment, when you're thinking, okay, something's not right. What do I need to do next? Where do I go from here? What's the cause of all of this? And so all these things start spinning in your head and you're trying to figure it all out. And you're probably getting like bits and pieces from different people, like, have you tried this, or have you done that, or have you, and your doctor was telling you need to lose weight and eat better. Well, even when you do those things, it didn't solve the problem. And I'm a huge believer that our body is just giving us signs. Our body is giving us signs of what is going on. And, feet as fear of moving forward, feet, knees, ankles, like those things. And so there's, signs that our body gives us, and we have to look at where those signs are coming from. We have to look at what it's really trying to tell us, because when we're just ignoring them and the chronic pain that's going on and some of the things that are happening, we just kind of push them to the side and ignore it. And we, try to move past it without really figuring out what the real core of it is.
That's right. And who wants to stop and even look at it? Because if you stop and you get off the hamster wheel, then there's fear. Can I pick up all, right? If you're a juggler, right, you know how to juggle the balls. And when you're done with that juggling act, you know how to catch them all, right? But we, right, especially women, right, we're juggling all the balls. And if one should fall, we're just so fearful of them all falling. And that means that's like almost the scenario of us falling apart.
Yeah.
So if we just keep going and we don't stop and we don't think about us and we don't whatever, we're keeping it all going. We keep on that wheel, right? Because if we get off, if it stops, what's that going to look like? And I knew that I was a hamster on a wheel, and I knew I didn't want to stop, but I did because I was afraid to stop. But once I stopped, I was like, it doesn't all fall apart.
No, it doesn't. I mean, and
Right?
it's, sometimes you've got to stop in that moment. And I like to say, even take a step back, like not just stop, but take a step back and get a better view of what's going on. Because too many times we just keep moving forward with what's happening because we don't feel like we have another choice. You don't think there's another option out there. And you're so just in this momentum of moving forward, but it's not in the right direction. And it's
Right.
hard sometimes to stop some of that momentum, take a step back, say, okay, what are my options? Where do I go from here? Where can I, spin around, see what other options there are, see the view from a higher level, which is one of the reasons why I love this time of year, because this is a time of year where, I like to step back, take a reflection on, what was good this year, what didn't go so well this year, but then look into the future and say, okay, where am I going from here? Set yourself up and get that plan in place to really make it successful. Why this year I have a vision workshop that I do every year. And I absolutely love the process because it's something that I take myself through with my business. My husband, we go through it with his business. I've done it for other businesses. And it's just that process of giving yourself a couple hours to step away and look at things from a different view.
And I love that because one of the things that I teach as a leader is you need to know what your vision is, right? Your vision statement and your mission for your business and all of that. But if you don't know your vision or where you want to go, and you don't communicate that to your staff, then they don't know where they're supposed to be going. And if you don't know the vision of the company, how is a manager supposed to be a good leader and manage to the vision of the company? And I heard this once and I thought it was awesome. There was a CEO, he believed so much in the vision and everybody knowing the vision that he would walk around with a stack of $5 bills in his pocket. And if he caught you saying the vision to a client or a coworker or whatever, he'd give you $5. And it was just a matter of recognizing the fact that you knew that how important the vision was. I mean, the receptionists, the salespeople, I mean, the accounting people, if you were able to, make it part of your daily work, you knew what the vision was. You knew what you were working for. You were part of it.
Yeah.
And that's one way of being a great leader, is that people are part of the success of the company, or or you're an entrepreneur and your vendors know your vision, then they are able to help you find the right solutions.
Absolutely. And knowing, I think a lot of times people don't, they're so focused on what's next and like that one next step that they miss the bigger vision of what they're really trying to work for. And sometimes that one next step isn't going to get you to that bigger vision.
No.
Or it's not going to get you the results that you're looking for right now. And so you've also got to evaluate what you're working on, what you're doing. So I love this conversation. I could talk about this all day.
I know we did, and one thing that's really interesting, you talk about your vision and looking back. So, my show, which you've been on, Hump Day Happens, I feel every Wednesday we do that. We look back at the beginning of the week, and we have that turning point on Wednesdays, right, to that middle of the week, that we can make the small changes that we need to make going forward. So I like to think about it, you got to keep it's in progress. So it's great to have that great vision of where you're going at the beginning of the year, your plan, And then every week for me is you look at it. Did I do what I meant to do this week? And I still have 2 days to do it if I didn't get it done at the beginning of the week. And it's just a whole, it's a momentum thing. And especially entrepreneurs, right? Not always have someone to be accountable. So I make Hump Day happens their accountability every week. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you one more thing, and then I know you got to go. So I could talk all day long, but I had an intention that I wanted to do a podcast one day. And then I got into my head about how difficult it is and I couldn't do whatever. And I just started doing my lives because I knew that was an important thing to do for my business.
Yeah.
And I hooked up with my sister who produces my lives. And she goes, you know how easy it is to take your live and drop it here and drop it there and make it into podcasts. And then I'm like, all of a sudden I have a podcast on Apple Podcast, and she takes Hump Day Happens and she puts it, onto Spotify. And I'm like, I wasn't even looking at, doing what it is my long-term goal was. And it happened. I bumped into it along the way in doing what I knew it was good for my business. So we just don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen, what's going to come from just being intentional.
Absolutely. It's, it is about being intentional. It's about knowing what it is you want to do and why you want to do it. So, podcasts are a big trend. So knowing why you want to do the podcast too, not just
right.
Just because everyone's doing it, but what is it going to do for you? What is it going to do for your business? What is it going to do for your exposure? Those type of things as well, because there's times where some of these projects and the bright shiny object syndrome that I like to say people have are really just distractions from getting you the results that you really want. And so there's a time and a place for everything in your business. There's a time
absolutely
to start different things, to do different things. And so knowing when those are is so critical. So share with us, just to kind of wrap up, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned and some tips you have for people that are going through this process and maybe where you were in trying to figure out, what's going on, what's wrong, where do I go from here?
You know what? You got to tell yourself the truth. You got to tell yourself the truth. You've got to look in the mirror and see who's standing there looking back, right? Are you looking into the mirror and seeing a lion, but you feel like a cat, right? What do other people think that you're good at versus what you think you're good at? And you really can go back and analyze your toolbox. What have you picked up along the way? And what did what was your passion? What really filled your soul? And a lot of times we need to teach what we've experienced. And that's can be painful sometimes, is looking at the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. That can bring up lots of things that some people just try to bury. And again,
right? You know what's funny? Just saying that, it does. It does. It brings up so much that you've buried, whether it's a relationship or your job or your spouse or how you raised your kids or all of those things, right? It just, when you go back and you look at it, it's taking responsibility and being truthful to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about being truthful, not burying it, dealing with it. It's, there's the overcoming in some ways, and there's the processing of it in other ways, right? So being able to move forward and feel confident in who you are, what you want to do, and where you want to go.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So Marsha, I know you have a special gift for the people listening. So share with them what your gift is for them.
So I created what I call my mood temperature cheat sheet. And you can go to mymoodzone.com and grab that. And it's just a fun little explanation of awareness and how we're aware of what's going on in ourselves. And it's almost like a traffic light, right? If you're in the green zone, then it's like that commercial, right? When you see the green lights going down the road, right? I don't know. one of the car commercials, and he gets in the car, right, and he's just zooming, and you just know that great feeling of not stopping for a light.
Mhm.
Then you know that feeling of the yellow light, right? Where it's like, okay, can I feed it out or did I get stuck, right?
Yeah.
And what are some strategies to when you get stuck there and how to get back into the green zone? And then there's the red light, and the red light means stop. You got to stop what you're doing. You might need some help. You might just need to reset and refresh.
Mhm.
But when you know where you fall, then you know how to get yourself out of that. And it's really about awareness and stopping. So it's mymoodzone.com. Again, it's my mood, MOOD zone, ZONE.com. And it's just fun. It's just a fun one sheet. And it's just, it's like, a mentor of ours calls it, it's your digital mood ring.
Yes, so there you go. Go grab your digital mood ring and we will be posting the comments in below for you. And as always, if you have questions for Marsha or myself, feel free to put them in the comments below, whether you're watching live now or watching the replay. We will come back and answer your questions. And I'll share with the workshop as well that I have coming up in January with you all. So I'll post that in the comments below so you can grab that free workshop and get your vision set out for this next year so you can
Yeah, and
overcome.
join me because I'm going to do it with Tammy. So come in and have some fun. Because
Yes,
if I'm there, it's going to be fun.
it will be fun. Yeah, we did one yesterday. It was,
Oh,
and I'm
cool.
doing it again in January. It was a lot of fun. Everybody's always like, "Oh my goodness, these are like it's a different process than most people have gone through." And so, come prepared to spend a couple hours on yourself. And thank you, Marsha, for being on with me today. It was so fun to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Tammy. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you all. I can't wait to see you in January at the workshop. I hope you have a blessed day and amazing holidays. We will see you guys next week at our next weekly wisdom.